Oh,
Hello, everyone. We're live again for another live stream on the Inventory Hive YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we're also on Twitter as well. This one today, it's not the most exciting of topics, especially with everything that's going off at the moment, but we think it's important to cover this off. So,
well, it's definitely important, Mitch,
yeah,
100%.
and
Sometimes the legislation changes and whatnot, they're not exactly the most exciting things, as you've said,
no,
but the legislation is there. You need to be following it. So
yeah,
it's important that we do discuss it because at Inventory Hive, we always like to bring these little live streams, whatever's going on in the industry. It's good for us to discuss, isn't it? So.
absolutely, exactly right. So, obviously, on the 1st of October this year, the new smoke and carbon monoxide alarm compliance legislations were updated and released. Um, so, we've built something in the Image Hive platform to help streamline this and just to make sure that landlords and agents are just basically they're assured that everything's up to date, basically, because you can easily get caught out now. So, as far as I'm aware, Alex, if you're not compliant or if it's not quite working, then you can get a fine of up to £5,000, I believe.
Yeah, so that's obviously at the discretion of local authorities. It
Yeah,
depends on obviously the magnitude of the complaint, whether that be from the resident or the tenant or indeed the agent recommending. If local authorities were to, I don't want to say the word catch you out, but if they were to find out that you're not compliant, they can impose a maximum fine of £5,000.
yeah,
I believe the process, and it's going to vary borough to borough and authority throughout the country anyway. But I believe they will give ability to remedy any issues initially. However, repeat offenders will probably be caught out with the maximum imposed £5,000 fine,
yeah,
which for not basically a headline figure of the issues or the legislation change anyway is that you now need a smoke and carbon monoxide detector in any area that is a living
yeah,
accommodation with a gas combustible um, device
yeah,
unit, however you
yeah,
want to refer to it, um, which is just good practice anyway, and something that we've seen with a lot of the new building regulations anyway. However, this is obviously now applicable to retrospective units where that might not have been the case.
yeah,
But for the cost of what a fire, smoke and carbon monoxide detector, £10 from
yeah,
Screwfix or some other supplier, obviously, it 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 doesn't warrant thinking about, does it? The cost of
no,
£10 could save you 5,000.
yeah. It's like the old oh, shall I go on? Can I get away with parking for 30 minutes? I'll save myself a quid, and then you get fined. So
Yeah,
you'll always get caught out. So, but yeah, so the new features we've released are just help our users just help it make it a lot easier for them to manage that, just to make sure they're compliant. But we've also released some reminder features as well. And I'll briefly run through those now on my account. So I'm just going to share my screen.
yeah. I think it's important to note that obviously this was always good practice anyway. But then with the new legislation changes at Inventory Hive within our
Yeah,
reports, we've created the ability for this to be evidence that you are following those legislation steps.
yeah,
More to the point, obviously, the ability is there within the system to now prove that you were compliant the
yeah,
entire time moving forward.
yeah. So the new feature summary is that now on Imagery Hive, just to point out as well, these new features we've released in the last couple of weeks are completely free for all Imagery Hive users. So there's no additional charge for this. It's just to help streamline your reporting process. So you can now on smoke and carbon monoxide alarms or fire alarms, you can now flag compliance items which need to be flagged basically. So those are automatically flagged within your reports, but you do have the facility to flag other items as well. So they will sit on the first page of on the top towards the top of your report as well. So whenever you're scrolling through or having a look through your report, you can clearly see those compliance items at the very top. You can have the ability to set alarm expiry dates, which is crucial because that leads on to my next point, where you'll also get reminder emails and alerts that when alarm compliance are about to expire,
Due,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want you don't want this situation where that that expires. You want we'll send you a reminder email when that is due to expire, so you can action on that. So I'll show that very shortly. We've also incorporated compliance, property compliance questions in your report, so you can answer these yes, no, or not applicable questions, and they'll get automatically slotted in your reports.
I think
Um,
just on that point, I think it's a good summary from within your report. If you're an
yeah,
agent, for example, or property manager that's obviously charging a fee to your landlords, I think it's very important just to show that you do consider all of these
yeah,
additional new compliance legislations that maybe your private landlord might have overlooked, not known about. For example, it's all summarised on a one sheet report essentially.
yeah,
That then you are proving your value of your management fee by saying,
yeah,
look, we considered this. The private landlord might not have considered those, so instantly they're thinking, oh, I'm glad they've done that. I didn't even know
mm,
about that. So
yeah,
this agent is on the ball, so to
yeah,
speak. That they're worth their fee to some extent.
yeah,
So I think it really helps to add value to your business as well.
yeah. And now as well, you can raise maintenance issues on check-in and inventory reports. So previously, it used to just be interim visits and checkouts, but we listened to some of our users' feedback and we thought we'd incorporate that in. Um, and yeah, so what I'll do now is I'll just show you very quickly how that works in a standard report. So the first things first is the flagging for compliance items such as smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, fire alarms, etc. So if I go in a specific room here, and if I just go into the kitchen, let me just find that specific item. So if I add that item in this room, so if I wanted to add in the room a carbon monoxide alarm, so if I add that in, carbon monoxide alarm, and then it will bring up a compliance flag here, which is automatically enabled. So this is where you can outline when that was tested, because obviously it's good practice to test these within the inspection reports. But also another key thing is an expiry date. So if you add in the expiry date of when that's due to expire as well. So if I said
I think
2023
Yeah, I think
in
most
May
straight out
next
of the
year.
box, as I'm aware, 10 years, they're giving a 10-year
Yeah,
guarantee straight out the box. So obviously,
yeah,
for some of your retrospective units where they've been in situ for 7, 8 years, it's just good to check. They will always have an install date sticker on, or
yeah,
should do, of when they were actually released. And again, it's good practice that if there isn't one, you make a note of that within the report, because that could qualify for some of that remedial action that we mentioned before,
yeah.
just to ensure that that's covered.
So I've added a photograph in there on there. I've noted that the test button is working, and I've added an expiry date. So that's quite crucial because we pointed out earlier that we'll send a reminder email to you when that's due to expire, so that can be replaced and fixed. So I click done. So that's added in my report. So that's one of the examples of the new compliance features we've done.
And it's important to note on that as well, that you don't have it's not only applicable to your smoke and carbon
Yeah,
monoxide detectors on that. So you could flag, say you replace a sofa for a tenancy every 3 years. Obviously, we're here today to talk about smoke and carbon monoxide alarm compliance. But just on that note, if you were to flag a sofa and the expiry date was to be in 2024, you would get an email reminder to say you've got to replace
yeah.
that's due for its compliance expiry. So almost a double whammy in this respect to help manage your properties units and the contents. Um,
Exactly that.
just on that
It,
note.
it's a good point that Alex actually, because with sofas obviously you got to make sure they've got the right um, furniture and fire regulations included as well, I suppose. So that's something to consider. Um, yeah, so I've added a couple of examples in there. I said as well how the smoke and carbon monoxide compliance features will automatically be flagged, but if, like I said, the sofa, you'll have to manually flag them yourselves if you want to. So I've
Yeah,
added
so
a couple.
don't worry, not every item within your report is automatically flagged for compliance.
Yeah,
It's just a simple tick box as you saw on Mitch's screen there anyway.
yeah.
But I just thought it was helpful to note that.
Another thing we've done as well is added a new section in every report called property compliance. So these are just simple yes or no questions to the new property compliance features that we've released. on every question as well, there's a little tooltip just to give you a bit of context about each question that we've asked here. So if you want to have a read of these just to make sure the questions are relevant to what you're looking for, then do have a look at those. If the answers are marked as not applicable, those questions won't get slotted in your report. But if you answer these yes or no, then they will do. So if I just answer some of these now, and it just helps. What I like about these yes or no questions, Alex, is it's a simple yes or no. It's none of this long-winded
Clues in the
typing
name of
out.
yes, no questions. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just helps speed up time basically. So
Yeah, because
um,
obviously with this new compliance, obviously where NA might be the appropriate answer is because obviously you don't always have a combustion appliance that requires one, so it excludes your gas cookers, for example, or if you don't have any gas throughout the property, as is the case with maybe a lot of say build to rent sites.
yeah,
That's predominantly where I spend a lot of my time. But it's important that you've got these on each story of the property, and obviously as part of your practical handover with tenancies anyway, they need to be tested. I'd always recommend doing it at the point of report commencement and
yeah,
also on the day of tenancy move in as well, because that just gives you plenty of time to rectify anything if the test button wasn't functioning, for example.
yeah. Something else we've incorporated as well on your checking and interim report, inventory reports as well. You can do this on normal interim reports and checkouts. Is now you can flag maintenance issues straight from the gate. So when tenants move in, so for example, here on the front door, I'm just going to outline that there are some scratches on the door.
Yeah, I found this quite useful for clients with new properties. So
Yeah,
where they're still going through like a snagging phase, for example. So a scuff on a wall, and they want to highlight it for a snagging. This is going to provide a summary on the front page of any maintenance issues that are required. Obviously, today we are talking mostly around the legislation changes, but this is something that we changed within our software at the same time. So that's why we're just giving a little nod to this. But as you can see on Mitch's screen there, it's a simple box just to fill out, and that would be summarized on the front page for
yeah,
anything that you do flag. So, I mean, Mitch, if you want to go back and just preview the
yeah.
report
Well,
now,
I've got an example
here's
here.
one I prepared earlier.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
What is
Yeah,
this?
so
Art attack.
Um, so yeah, so like I said, the maintenance and compliance stuff are really important. So that's why we've kind of bumped these towards the top of the reports now. So on page one, here's some maintenance action required. So now you can split these down into responsibility as well. So in this case, there's an issue with the floor, which is the landlord's responsibility. So that's done here. And then you've also got your property compliance questions that we've answered within the report. Again, sit towards the very top of the report.
And I think
And
this is the area I was saying about proving your value as a managing agent
yeah,
to your landlords or investors, because as you can see, it's clearly documented near the top of the report. So if you are sharing it with them, they again can at a glance go, right, this person is managing my property effectively. They know what they're doing. They've got confidence in your ability. Then I think.
absolutely, absolutely. And then just below the compliance questions are the compliance items that you flagged within the report. So you can clearly see that in this property, you've got a smoke alarm and a carbon monoxide alarm. They're both ceiling mounted. The button was working. You've got photographs of those and the date tested and expiry date as well. So if you want to see those photos, just click on them there. So it just makes it look a lot cleaner. And it's a good point you make as well, Alex, just showing that you're always on the ball with this. So
Precisely.
I've got an example of an interim visit as well. So on the front page where I've got my maintenance issues raised, like I said, it's split by cost. So the tenant's responsible for £250 worth of damage to a carpet, and there's a problem with the ceiling, which the landlord needs to fill out. So all summarised on the front page, followed by the compliance items as well. So yeah, so
Yes.
that's pretty much a nice summary of the compliance features we've released, just to help the private rented sector, just to make sure they get stung with any fines, basically. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because that's ultimately what we don't want. We don't want anybody getting, as you said, the word stung. We want to make sure that we've given the tools available to our users to be able to manage their properties
yeah,
effectively. And I think with that new summary page, it does that quite well. So
yeah. Something key about this as well is what I predominantly shown you today was on the desktop site, but you can also do all of what I've just shown you today through the Inventory Hive app, which is available on Apple and Google Play Store. And yeah, so the interface on the app as well is exactly the same as a desktop. So you're not going to get confused of the layout on one
So you
page
can
compared
flag
to
those
another.
in real time as you move around the property, basically
Exactly that.
completing the report. You can snap your picture, push the I mean, I'm 6'3", so I can push the smoke alarm button quite easily
Yeah,
usually.
yeah.
Um,
I'm 6'5", so I can do that.
is that why you don't stand anywhere near me in
Yeah,
photos?
yeah, exactly that. Yeah. But yeah, that pretty much summarizes everything today on why it's important to make sure your smoke and carbon monoxide alarm compliance is up to date. If you've got any questions, do get in touch. I'm Mitch from Image Hive, so my email's just at the bottom of the screen there. I look after all the marketing and help with all the customer success as well. And Alex, if you want to explain what you do briefly as
As
well,
I
just
said and alluded to throughout today's live stream, I predominantly spend a lot of my time within the build to rent sector. So that's purpose-built blocks of apartments in student accommodation as well. But we've got a great team that support all of our private rental sector across the board. So whether you're a private landlord or a managing agent, property manager that needs to adhere to that compliance, which obviously you all
yeah,
do, just get in touch with any questions that you
yeah.
might have, and we can certainly point you in the right direction.
Lovely. And if you want to take a look at our website, it's inventoryhive.co.uk, and we're offering a free 30-day trial as well for anyone who just wants to give us a try and see how we can help with your property reporting. So again, thanks for everyone's time today. Any questions, do get in touch. And Alex, thanks again. You've been an absolute star.
Always a pleasure, Mitch. Take care,
Legend.
everyone.